Hi, in this video, we'll be able to listen to some of the guests which we invite to our weekly Mr. Metaverse discussion. How important is interoperability? Maria, what's your take on that?
There are a lot of challenges when it comes to interoperability. I want to raise two of them. Let's go first for the technical ones. So, for example, when we're talking about engines, just some of them are based on Unity and some of them are based on Unreal Engine 5. How can it work in terms of operability there? And also, at least from my side, because I'm a designer, about the UX experience too, because I mean the user experience. Because every metaverse platform has their own user interface or controls and everything else. So when it comes to, for example, going from one metaverse to another, how is that change gonna happen? I think it can be possible doing something like that these waiting rooms that you have on 3D games, that you are in that waiting room and just waiting for the another space for charging, for loading. So it's the same thing. But yes, I think that at the end, um, we won't have a seamless experience, but something in between. I'm worried about some security issues and also technical issues.
What's your take on that, Constantina?
So every time that we speak about interoperability, I have in my mind the Star Wars. So in the Star Wars, what we see is that in one scene, in one frame, let's say, that is a bar somewhere in a planet, and we have there all the kind of species and the language that they speak, but nobody cares because that is the normal. So this is what we should achieve when we speak about interoperability to our systems. Of course, there should be diversity, but don't confuse diversity with interoperability. I mean, I would like to build my avatar, and I would like to jump on any virtual world I want. And the whole thing of interoperability comes up from owners. So I started for the benefits of the interoperability, what we want to achieve, why we want interoperability. So it's about the owners. I am in a game, for example, and then I spent a lot of money to buy a lot of assets. Why should I don't have the opportunity to use those assets to another game and instead of go to another game or to another virtual world or anywhere else and I need to buy from scratch everything, even my avatar. So this is the interoperability that we speak about. This is what we need to achieve. To do that, of course, there are a lot of technical issues that we try to solve, and one of them, I speak from the fashion industry, speaking about the skins or the clothes, is that there are a lot of different um, programs that they build those clothes, and everything has to do about the avatar, the skeleton of the avatar. So we need to find a tool, and this is why what we work on, to that we can build whenever whatever we want with any tool, but we have to find an adaptation tool, let's say, that transform whatever we build to this common language between the platforms. One thing that we need to solve there is to find a common language between one platform to another. So if we want to connect those platforms, they need to speak a common language. This is the standards of the metaverse, as we said. This is we don't those standards we don't have them yet.
Thanks for sharing. That's an interesting perspective. What's your take on that, team? How would you define it?
I'm going to talk a bit about the music and movie and content creation of interoperability. Right now, we spend a lot of time building our audiences on YouTube, on Twitch, and all these other different platforms. And there's no way to directly own your audience. Like if YouTube shuts down tomorrow, you lose all this work that you've been working on. So if you can create ownership between you and your audience and you're able to market to your super fans, then you're able to engage your audience more, create this immersive experience for them, and then actually monetize it instead of letting YouTube own all the money. Or, I mean, sure, they give you a little bit, but being able to own your audience and being able to sell directly to your audience is the biggest benefit of interoperability. And also on the gaming aspect that Constantino mentioned, with the tech side is not there yet. There is so like when you think of interoperability, I'm in Upland, so like we have cars in Upland. So like if I take that car and I move it to Sandbox where it's more Minecraft, then it's not going to have the same shape, right? So you'll be able to unplug it, plug it in, and then it's going to take a different shape according to the principles within that metaverse. So I'm bullish on metaverse platforms for the most part, because they all these different experiences, they're going to need a central hub for people to be able to go in and find all of their experiences that they want to see. And so there's going to be multiple different hubs. There's going to be one metaverse or that's going to dominate everything. There's going to be all these little micro hubs that serve different purposes. So there's going to be several winners. There's going to be several losers as well. So that's my take on interoperability. And also another thing about that too is like, let's say, we all were rug pulled early on in this industry. We've all invested in a project that went to shit. And so when we have a lot of these dead assets that are sitting in our wallet, and right now the market is not doing very well. So if we can create interoperability, maybe we'll be able, like let's say we have a lot of this particular project that went sour. Maybe we're able to gamify that NFT and be able to bring it back to life, and then basically just take ownership of it. Now the problem with doing that is that you'd be giving royalties to the person who dumped the project, right? But maybe because you own a bunch of them, that maybe you'll end up bringing projects back to life that you never thought would ever come back to life. So there is potential there as well. So like there's a lot that can be done with interoperability, and I'm looking forward to it.
Listeners who like to who join, and I'm curious to ask the same question to them. Listen, what's your take on that?
I think interoperability is a big part of the metaverse. It's a big part of what we're trying to build with the metaverse. I think with a lot of current Web 2 gaming, video games, a lot of those other things, a lot of people are getting tired of constantly being prompted to pay for something, pay for this additional feature, and then do that in every single game. I think if a lot of assets become more interoperable, more fluid, easy to transfer, like with NFTs, kind of some things like we've seen with Metaverse Fashion Week. If we can just kind of transfer that same jacket we have in Decentraland to spatial and everything, and like how Timothy said, it might take on a slightly different shape, color, style, but we can just move it in between. I think it helps build a much more interconnected metaverse, a much more, friendly, like user friendly, all of that, because then you can just transfer it and you're not locked into one platform. You don't get that on Decentraland and then you're stuck on Decentraland. And if I think, okay, I like spatial too, but rather than just buy, one or two things here, one or two things there, I can just buy them all, in one place and then move them in. And I'm not so kind of walled in to this one platform. And then if it goes bust, I'm screwed. Like, I think Timothy also mentioned that where we've all gotten, burned a little bit. It's better to just have the option to move it to the next one. Projects fail, things don't work out. So there's less risk to it that way. And I think that would make a lot of people feel more comfortable if they know they can just kind of seamlessly move it over to something else, a different game, as times and trends change.
Perfect. Thanks. So we'll move to Aditya and then to Shai. So Aditya, what's your take on interoperability?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Anna. It's a brilliant topic, and I agree with Alexander about many things. So we've given a lot of thought on how this would actually happen because there are multiple problems to solve. So the promise of the metaverse really is that if I'm wearing my green Nike jacket in Decentraland, I should be able to just click on a portal, and that should take me straight from Decentraland to Spatial, and I should have that same green jacket with me in spatial, and it should be a seamless click. That's all the promise of the metaverse is. It's not rocket science. So it's basically about having identity federated, that you can move virtual world to another, so there's connectivity between the two, and of course your assets moving from one virtual world to another. Now the way some people have done it is people have actually made one asset three times over. So you make one asset, and so you make a voxelated asset for sandbox. You make a low poly GLB for Decentraland. You make a slightly higher poly GLB for say spatial and Fortnite, and you kind of link them together. So the way we're trying to think about it now is when we're speaking to brands is there's only one Nike and there's only one green SKU from Nike. So you get an NFT when you buy that either physically or digitally or digitally, and then that gives you a unique ownership of either owning it digitally or physically, which lets you choose on you want all renders of it, whether you want the voxelated render, you want the low poly render. So I'm guessing that the big brands are going to give it to you because they want their merchandise to be seen, because remember, this is going to eventually become a where to earn economy. So the more Nike gets seen, the more visible it is for Nike. It's all about virtual product placement and eyeballs. So initially Nike will just give you all four versions of it when you buy that NFT. Eventually, because Nike being a big corporate will charge you for each version of that, because that's how monetization happens. Initially you want to see what it feels like to have all four versions of it, and then later they make you pay for the different versions. So that's my vision of how I think interoperability works. It's not really rocket science. There are a lot of good people out there. I recently came across this metaverse called Hyperfi. I think they've done a lot. They let you import a VRM character. Spatial lets you import a VRM avatar. As I think Hyperfi has a lot of linkages with the your digital wallet as well. So anyone who says the metaverse is dead is like trying to talk about a cake being really bad when it's still in the oven. It hasn't come out yet. So that was my quick take on interoperability. If I went sideways a little bit.
Yeah, someone is saying the cake is dead, but it's have not yet left the oven. It's still, what do you take interoperability?
I'm just gonna be concise. I really sincerely love the metaverse, but I'm gonna be wearing my DevOps hat, so from the DevOps perspective, so it's technically specific.
Mhm.
So I'll be very very quick on this. I'm talking about four parts. One is the when we're on interoperability in terms of the metaverse with metaverse platforms. First one will be universally unique identifiers. UUIDs that will provide us these unique identifiers for every single avatar, developer, or avatar guest that we have. Secondly, will be single sign-on. I think single sign-on when we're working with ecosystems, with management systems, we have single sign-ons. We enable us to use one single sign-in mechanism, which will enable us to go through these metaverse worlds. Third would be data schema. Data schema is important when we can synchronize the data in real time. For example, with one metaverse world, whichever updates that we're working on is also updatable in another metaverse world in terms of synchronization. And then fourthly is API integration. When we're able to integrate our API mechanisms together, we can work with dozens and dozens of metaverse who are willing to work with one another. So I was looking into four parts, like for example, universal UIs, which is UUID, single sign-on, data schema and synchronization, and API integration. Those are the ones that are technical for us to create a metaverse, which will develop into operability among mechanisms and systems.
That was really concise and value packed. Thank you to the watching to the end. If you like more exclusive content, you like the memes, or you'd like to learn through the text, consider subscribing to our newsletter. Links in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and probably you might like this video.